Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an item that I had on the future agenda for quite some time. It's a follow-up to the employee survey. The employee, I guess we called it the Organizational Climate Survey. By way of background, on May the 15th, City Council approved unanimously a resolution authorizing an agreement with Willoughby Enterprises to conduct a staff organizational climate survey. Recall that Willoughby was selected in a competitive bidding situation. Willoughby does mostly does surveys for military and national companies, and it's headquartered in Newport News, Virginia. It was a double-blind survey, which we discussed as City Council, meaning not even Willoughby knew which employees submitted which response. The purpose of this was to keep it completely confidential. There was tremendous concern of the city staff that there would be retaliation against employees who responded honestly. I didn't share that, but the staff felt that way, and so we had a double-blind survey. Even Willoughby does not know who completed a survey. They reported a tremendous percentage of surveys completed toward the high end of the range that they've ever experienced in terms of completing surveys. They kept it open for an extra few days to try to encourage people to participate. Sent out a total of 3 email blasts asking people who hadn't participated. Well, actually, they asked everybody, if you haven't submitted your survey, please submit it. Willoughby's report contained 5 recommendations. They recommended that the city review the salary structure and make needed adjustments. They recommended, number 2, provide additional training and professional development opportunities, including management training for supervisors. They recommended, number 3, ensure leaders at all levels are qualified, honest, and acting in the best interests of Marco Island. Number 4, take steps to increase employee satisfaction and morale, with particular emphasis placed on non-supervisory staff. And number 5, continue to elicit feedback from city staff. Some city departments followed through quickly. They held staff meetings, went through the issues raised in the survey among employees. I guess I forgot to say, for those who have forgotten or never really knew, Willoughby divided the survey into parts, and if more than 10 persons responded, then they delivered a departmental response. So they had departmental responses for police, fire rescue, water sewer, building department, and the general. Everybody else was lumped into general. I remember that City Council was also responded to, and the Willoughby carved out a special section for City Council, and it was painful. I can tell you that as one on the receiving end of that survey. And I think that those of us on City Council took it extraordinarily seriously. There were many, many criticisms about the way we handle the staff and the way we handle ourselves and the way we respond to the city staff. I know personally I took it very seriously. I tried to convince myself that personally it's because I'm used to being in a big, tough business environment and chomping at the proverbial cigar. But the fact is that these comments rang true, and so many of us have tried to adjust. And what the City Council did was to hire an outside consultant, or actually we didn't pay a penny, bring an outside consultant in who came and visited with us last month and took us through some training, and then went and followed through with the city on that. The police department came in for the largest number of very difficult comments by staff. The uniformed Marco Island police officers made far and away the largest number of negative comments about the police department. And as a result, the city wrestled with how to handle that, what to do about that. And I think that the then interim city manager, Gil Palenko, came up with, I thought, was a brilliant solution, which I'll get to in a minute. The comments that were made about the most of the departments were what you would expect in a survey. A smattering of comments. As I say, they were all addressed except for the police. The police comments were extraordinarily difficult. There was a process, I should mention, whereby the comments that were made were forwarded by Willoughby under Florida statute to the city attorney, who then has the authority in Florida to redact names of individuals if he felt there would be a problem with releasing the name. And when he had gone through that, then the report was released, and it's a public record. It's available publicly. So the first comment I would just read to give you a flavor for what is being said. Again, these are uniformed police officers on Marco Island commenting on the Marco Island Police Department. A person whose name has been redacted intentionally and willfully violates people's civil rights every day during his duties. Citizens are receiving violations that officers have never observed. This may or may not be true. What we know when we took the survey was we promised the employees of the city of Marco Island that we would follow through. We said, if you're going to take a risk and you're going to take a chance and you're going to fill out this survey and give us information, we're going to follow through. We'll see what's happened. There's a comment here, I'll redact the name, refuses to properly investigate complaints against certain officers within the department. These allegations are criminal in nature. That's not what I'm saying. That's what a police officer is saying. These allegations are criminal in nature. The redacted name has authorized the Detective Division to fix crime status and reclassify them to lesser included crimes to make it appear that we have a lower crime rate. Another officer, officers have been directed to enforce ordinances selectively against violators based upon personal agendas. Another officer writes, I'm quoting these officers from their these are not my words. Officers were authorized to take actions per violation of Florida statute and later ridiculed, investigated, demoted, or ostracized. Another one, redacted, has documentation that command staff has allowed employees to falsify hours on their timesheets. Redacted has been authorizing overtime for redacted when she has not worked to appropriate hours. Another one, the department has obviously underreported the crime statistics. Numerous reports have been taken by a responding officer as crimes, thefts and burglaries, which have been altered and changed to information-only reports. For some reason, it is believed that if a victim of a crime does not want to file charges, then no crime was committed. Next one, the agency does not report crimes properly. They report a vehicle burglary as a trespass instead of a vehicle burglary to lower their crime statistics. Another one, there's a cancer within the department command staff that has not been removed for over 15 years and has continued to spread hate and distrust. Things need addressing. Favoritism, discrimination, lies, deceit, sexual comments between a brass and a civilian employee, time stealing, i.e. comp time, vacation time, hours of work, is forged. Redacted has documentation. Next one, often cases that lack physical evidence, witness observations, or potential suspect information make these crimes difficult to solve and later changed to a non-crime report. Although the solvability factor may be minimal or impossible, it does not change the fact that a crime occurred. And the last one that I'll read, and there are dozens more. City Council has no idea how they are being lied to by the police. I believe that we on City Council need to support these courageous officers who came forward with these charges. And the way we support them is absolutely not by micromanaging. That's not our job. The way we support them is by encouraging the city to examine this. He was at the time the interim city manager. As I say, I thought he had a really good idea. there was a police consultant working in the police department, rewriting the police department's general orders, rules of procedure. This person is a former captain in the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. She has a PhD in criminal justice. And the manager told me, I asked him what his plans were, and he told, following up on this survey, I believe this goes back to the summer, I think, that he said he was considering having this person pursue the survey and follow up. I will tell my colleagues and I'll tell the public, I thought that was a stroke of genius on the interim manager's part. Here's a person who understands police procedures. Here's a person who would not be somebody that would come in cold, not knowing how police departments operate. This is somebody who understands police culture and would be able to differentiate between things that are just gripes and normal complaints and people complaining about procedural things that occur in any given business. And this is a person who obviously established herself as a somebody with some police cred. She's done work for. She's done this exact project for the city of Dover, Delaware. She's done this exact project for Sandy Springs, Georgia, a suburb of Atlanta, Sugar Land, Texas, Coconut Creek, Florida, New Braunfels, Texas, and Treasure Island, Florida. The interim city manager asked this professional to submit a proposal, and then he went to work on her and got the proposal whacked down in terms of money and had her divided into deliverables, is what she calls it. She has a methodical series of deliverables, and the interim city manager authorized her to work on deliverable number 1, which she did. I actually never went back to the interim manager to ask him what happened with this until I was preparing this item for tonight. And I met with the interim city manager, and he told me, yeah, she completed deliverable number 1, and she delivered it to the city. She delivered it on November the 6th, 2017, which I think was Chairman Grifoni's first day as chairman. So deliverable number 1, which is included in the material that I distributed, and it's available on the city's website, is an analysis of results from the Marco Island Organizational Climate Survey. And what she did in a interesting way was to take the comments that were made by the police and divide them into sections depending on what they dealt with, whether they dealt with procedures, whether they dealt with record keeping, whether they dealt with citizen interaction, etc. She divided these up. Her proposal goes on for more phases than just phase 1. And the purpose of including this in tonight's agenda is that I would like to see this. I would like to see this council encourage the acting city manager to move forward with this project. I think the acting manager needs our encouragement to continue. We've had this discussion before. I'll say it now for the 3rd time because he's been acting city manager twice before on my watch. And that is that he's in a really tough position. That he's dealing with people that were his peers day before yesterday. And if we have a city manager other than this city manager, he'll go back and they'll be his peers day after tomorrow. So he's not in the same position. And if we could encourage him, I think it would help us. Otherwise, we're going to tread water. We're making progress. We as a city council have a commitment to the employees of the city of Marco Island. We want to hear what you have to say. I remember saying that. I remember saying those words. We want to hear what you have to say, and we will respond. And I think we have a commitment to make that response. This is not micromanaging. The city council is going to do nothing. Nothing. We're not going to make one inquiry. We're not going to have one interview. We're not going to see one person on the staff. We're not going to ask any follow-up questions. That's not our job. That's what this consultant would do. And I think that we as a council cannot sit back and fail to move forward to correct these problems. We did that for ourselves. The acting manager, in my opinion, needs our support and encouragement to resolve the remaining issues. This was a council-initiated staff survey initiated by Vice Chair Roman, and we put it through 7-0 that we would do this survey, and we promised to correct the problems, and I believe we need to encourage the manager to move forward with this consultant's project. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Honig. Councilor Beatty.
Yes, thanks, Chairman. With all due respect to the author, what you just heard is probably one of the best examples that I've heard in a long time of ridiculous, unnecessary busy work coming to us. We are going to ask, or we're going to have someone from the Pinellas Sheriff Department to come in and do a study and improve, or whatever, the culture of our police department. Wow. Isn't that impressive? You know something? You already have people here that can do that. That's the leaders of our police department that are with us right now. And they do that every single day. What this does is, to me, and I'm very, very suspicious of the motivation behind this, very suspicious. This smacks, to me, of a lack of support of our current leadership in this police department. That's what it is, plain and simple. I encourage you, gentlemen and ladies sitting up here with me now, this is a bad idea at any time. It's an even worse idea right now with the chaos that we've just had with our city manager. Don't make this mistake. Okay, instead of calling people from other departments in to study and improve the culture of our department, throw your support to the people we already have. This is ridiculous. And we can't have it. I'm almost ashamed to have to say the things I've just said. I really am. Have a stranger come in and do the things that our leadership does every day. In any organization, you're going to have people that are going to call people out. And in law enforcement, that's very, very common. Get smart. Support the people that we have. Support our leaders. They do it every single day. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councilor Brown.
Well, I certainly agree with Councilor Beatty on almost everything he said. Where I was going to go with this is I've been on this island since 1997. To some, that's a long time. To others, it's not such a long time. But over the years, I grew to love this island, which is one of the reasons I'm sitting up here today. Because if anybody that's been in public office, and they should well know, this isn't a fun job. It's not something you take on to work on in your spare time. The pay is pretty lousy, but I didn't do it for the pay. I'm here because of the people sitting out here. I'm here because of the people that are on this island. I've grown to care about and love pretty dearly. We, in the last, I'll say month, 5 weeks, whatever, I've seen and witnessed things that I just can't even begin to believe would ever happen here on Marco Island. I'm beside myself. And there's much more in innuendo that we're not even going to go to because it is innuendo. But sometimes you're taught where there's smoke, there's fire. And we think the Picayune Forest over there, the fire today, is tough. Well, we've got a lot more hanging over us right now. before this survey was ever done, one of the seated city council people wrote a letter to the editor, an editorial actually, and he called the department corrupt without any evidence or backup. That's an opinion. Kind of difficult. I happen to personally know a heck of a lot of the officers on the force. I consider many of them personal friends of mine. I've not heard, and I have to be honest, I don't know all of them that intimately, and I'm sure a number of them wouldn't share with me deep down thoughts about, especially if they're negative thoughts, they would go the direction that they're supposed to go. But so many of them have never even hinted about that. Where their problem is on the police force that I see is that we cut to the quick back during the time. We were very slow to react. We held them back. Low pay. This is a great training place for a cop to come. They can come here, get trained, and they want to move somewhere else. And why is that? Because we can afford to train them over here because we need them, but somebody else is willing to pay them on the other side. I'm afraid while this survey was done, and yes, we all agree an employee survey was a good idea, when we got down to discussing the who does the survey, I don't think that was unanimous, but I'm not going to go there. Well, I know it wasn't because I didn't happen to vote for the particular one because I didn't like their setup. But, you know, this is a democracy. The majority wins, so you go along with it. Now, we've had this for how long? And then we bring it out here at probably one of our lowest points. And again, I think it was said earlier, there's been a lot of innuendo. Yeah, there's been a lot of innuendo about the police department and the top-end management of that department. And it's tough. It's tough to hear over and over again. Are we supporting our people here on Marco Island the way we're supposed to support them? I question that sometime. Why are we just talking to them? Again, it was a light brush came over. A big part of this employee survey said there's 7 of us sitting up here that were not such nice people for a lot of the things we did. We had ourselves a little consultation from someone. They came in for an afternoon, gone over a few things. We learned we're not supposed to talk so long because otherwise you'll have your meetings run too long. Well, we've done that for a couple of years. But you know, we didn't really learn anything about what are you supposed to do to not cause difficulties amongst staff and morale. We have got some of the best in both, not only the police department, the fire rescue department, in Marco Island as a whole. We've got great people. We've just scared the heck out of them many times. And what we need to do is show a hell of a lot more support than we've done in the past. And we've got to do it and do it right for them. I'm going to basically turn to the police chief and ask him if there's anything that he'd like to say, because so often we've made so many comments about the police department, and we never look over there and say, Chief, what do you have to say about some of this stuff?
Thank you, Councilman Brown. I would love to stand up at that podium and address the lies that have been made against my agency and my office in my agency. And the timing of this is very suspect. The timing when we begin an inquiry into the city manager that you had a part in hiring, and then all of a sudden you want to bring this forward against the agency, shame on you, Councilman Honig. It's a disgrace.
wants the from, Mike.
You are attempting to undermine this agency for years. Has it been known that you met with disgruntled employees, past and present, to kind of coddle them and make sure they made certain comments on that survey? And it's not just the police department, it's other departments as well. And you continue to do that. You continue to undermine my agency, and you use the flawed climate survey, anonymous responses from people past and present, and many of those have went through 13 internal affairs investigations we had here in this department when I took over that I needed to clear up. Past and present employees you talked to, and you made sure that they responded to that climate survey in a certain way. And you used that to undermine our agency. And now, when the agency becomes involved in an investigation against the city manager that you had part in hiring, you come at us with this information, and it's all false. We have an outstanding police department, of professional men and women that do an excellent job every day. Do we have people that are disgruntled? Yes, we do. Do we have people that we had to discipline at times? Yes, we have. And unfortunately, they're not happy about that. You said about favoritism. Well, I call it workatism. Somebody who comes in every day and works hard, puts in their work and does extra and helps this community. That's workatism. That's the people that are promoted in our agency, the ones that care, that are dedicated to the community, that volunteer and help out as much as they can. That's what impresses me, and that's what we need in this community. We don't need naysayers spreading rumors that are false about this agency. You just get up here, and every time I had to sit there and listen as people make comments about us that are untrue, come in and look at anything we do. Anything we do is above board, and we do it 100% the right way. And to constantly take attacks, okay, from you, and you've done it with other staff members, the Valentine's Day Massacre that you did know about, and you were setting up a city employee here to be fired. And that's in a chain of emails. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace to lie and try to attack an agency that is doing good things. It's a disgrace, Councilman Honig. You're a disgrace to the council and the community, and you're just trying to hurt this agency and community.
You going to respond to that, Councilor Honig?
No,
All right, guys. All right. Thank you. Councilor Reed. Yes.
I'm just looking at the clock, looking at the public comment, looking at the rest.
Again, my name is Paul Canty Cantwell from 141 Beachcomber. A couple of things I want to say is, Mr. Honig, you really played your hand poorly tonight, because you could have presented your problems with this survey and the police department in a much more classful way than you did. You read anonymous questions or answers to questions on and on and on, over and over and over again, where you could have just said, listen, we have what we believe are some problems in the police department. Here are some of the items that were talked about. You never mentioned any of the good reviews that might have gotten there, right? So you went through this whole thing. You had to drag the police department through this whole dirt that isn't even proven to be true yet. The other thing is, why move to another let's go back and do another survey. How much is it going to cost us to move to another section? How much is it going to cost us to bring in somebody that's going to be supposedly a counselor? Evidently, Councilman Honig didn't learn when you guys brought someone in how to treat the public, because he cursed at me. So evidently you guys didn't learn anything. Maybe we could get somebody that you guys didn't use. I I supported you, Jarek, and I supported you, Honig, and I gave you money because I thought you'd do the right thing when you went to get elected. This is a disgrace. You talk about Valentine's Day massacre. You're looking at it, people. This is exactly what they're doing. This is the Valentine's Day massacre. A little late, I give it, but this is what it's all about. And what a disgrace that you brought this police department through the mud like that. You could have easily have done it with the class and dignity, but you didn't have any and you didn't do it.
Any other public comment?
Yeah, hi. I'm Dr. Robert McArdle, 780 Willow Court, Marco. I may be one of the new guys on the block. I'm only here 10 years. But as a former director of the prison system in New York State, I've been under the gun from unions, from inmates, inmates' families, you name it. If you're not aggravating 50% of the people, you're not doing your job. First. The other, IBM has an adage, garbage in, garbage out. If you take a survey that's a double blind, as it was purported to be, neither the experimenter or the participant knows the other. It's only the result at the end. To quote from Transformational Strategies, the responses are from employees that may have left the department due to retirement, other employment, or termination which impacts the perspective of the former employee. The survey, this limits the opportunity to validate the employee's statement because the source is unknown. So what happens is you have some people here online that are listed as respondent 3, respondent 5, respondent 18, respondent 20, some of which have duplicate, very insidiously hateful statements about the department and about the chief. But in actuality, it was presented as though employee, patrolman so-and-so, patrolman, name redacted. Well, there wouldn't have been a name to redact because in a double blind, there are no names.
That's right.
The people conducting the experiment, that's because double blinds are not about this type of an environment. It's about medicine.
I don't think the names of the individuals who made the comment weren't there. It was people that they were accusing, and I think that's what.
No, well, that's not the way I heard it. Now, I may be wrong, but a double blind is used in medicine and pharmacology to test, to find out whether an individual is getting a drug that's experimental or a placebo. That's how it works. This type of a situation where you have people that anonymously are writing things down, and you have no idea that out of 100 responses, 85 of them could have been from people that were terminated or had an axe to grind. So it's a very flawed. If a survey was going to be used to, in fact, not indict, but scrutinize any department, whether it's police, fire, or anything else, you would want one that's not a double blind or a blind, because you referred formally, Ms. Roman, Councilman Roman, to the military. I did 36 years in the military. We had IG. New York State Department of Corrections, we had an internal IG. Plus we had a state IG that was always looking. But the responses were not hidden. Anonymously behind the screen, you had due process where you could confront the individual who had it. If the person actually had a valid point, that would be portrayed. If it wasn't, and they weren't willing to stand against their accuser, I'm sorry to take up so much time.
No, it's
but I think the validity of the survey to begin with was very poor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ken Honecker, 632 Durando Court. Instead of wasting our money on this witch hunt, why don't we use the $20,000 to put a police officer in each of our schools? And that's where the money should be spent. This should not be done. This is a waste of money and time.
Good evening, Council. I'm a retired commander from the NYPD with 46 years of service. I've seen a lot of surveys, a lot of agendas. This is an agenda-delivered survey that was set up to hurt the chief of police of Marco Island. I'm impressed with what he has done on this island. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, sir. Sir, would you mind your name for the record? Sorry.
Retired Lieutenant Commander, Vernon Gebeth, 252 Edgewater Court.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no other public comment, we can move